You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast.
Episode 1, A Conversation with Bendu.
Hello everyone, welcome to the first Werra Foxma interviews of 2021. My name is Fraser, thank you very much for listening. The first episode guinea pig is going to be Bendu, otherwise known as Ben Vance. Ben has got an album coming out on the 15th of January through WFR called Sagittarius, and it's a pleasure to have Ben online for you now. Ben, how's it going? You all right?
I'm very good, thank you.
Thank you for being, a part of, our label and the journey that we're taking. My idea and concept is to have people get to know you a little bit better. There will be people out there that'll already be aware of you. You'll have fans yourself. There'll be also followers of the label who might not know you so well. So it'll be a good opportunity to have people kind of figure out what makes you tick, what the technology you use, which is, I think, quite interesting for a lot of our listeners, because a lot of our listeners are electronic musicians. And we'll also hear some excerpts from Sagittarius to hopefully kind of emotionally bribe people into buying a copy. So I believe that, you're no stranger to electronic music. You've had quite a journey, I'm going to presume. I know you've got a 10-year plus history on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
With self-releases. So tell me a little bit about your kind of journey up to now with your musical projects.
Well, I've been mostly just doing, when I got into the electronic music, I mostly just worked on my own. And I started back with getting into modular in 2009, maybe, after seeing an Alessandro Pini video where it was just his hands and the buchla, and I was like, what is
mesmerizing that? Isn't it? Yeah.
That sounds amazing, and it looks so fun. So then I went down an internet rabbit hole, and prior to that I did music with a band and was in bands and stuff, and when I was really young, and played with music, here and there. But I got really hooked with that modular stuff.
So, did you start with, from an electronic music standpoint? Did you start with modular first and work backwards to working with a DAW or synths, or were you always involved in kind of synths from the get-go?
I always played with when I was in a band in Chicago when I was younger. I was in a band that didn't have a drummer, so we had a drum machine, and I was interested in electronic stuff then, and played with Reason, and
right.
I had I got Live when it was, I think, 1.5, and played with it and messed around with it and basically made crap and didn't
Making crap is an integral part of all of our journeys. You're not the Beatles right out the box. Do you know what I mean? There's always a kind of a period of trial and error, and you probably, and I've been in that situation. I've been in bands, and you think, that what we're making is great, and then you look back on it like 10 years later, and just the complete opposite is true. But you can get in a bubble of kind of creation. So obviously, see, because I don't know you very well, and again, that's another offshoot, upside of doing this. So you're based in LA right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Cool. So tell me a little bit about the kind of history of the project that you call Bendu, because obviously you've been in other kind of projects, but you've got quite an extensive back catalogue from an electronic artist point of view. There's 10 years worth of history, on there. So tell me a little bit about the Bendu project journey, kind of the plan for it, when it started, and how it's evolved over time.
Right. Well, right about the time that I started getting into modular, I found the forum Muff Wiggler, and Bendu is like a gamer tag,
Right.
and it's a Star Wars reference from long ago, so it's just my internet handle.
Yeah.
So that's really all it is. It's a Star Wars reference that has my name in it.
Even better. You're killing two birds with one stone there, right? So, I mean, your releases go back to 2010. So if anybody, wants to kind of explore and go down the rabbit hole, as you call it, for your stuff, just go to bendu.bandcamp.com and you'll find a treasure trove of stuff going way back to, movie soundtracks. Are these like fake movie soundtracks that seem to be quite popular, or did you actually write music for an actual thing that got made?
Well, there are a couple of soundtracks there, and a friend, the first earliest thing that is on the Bandcamp is it's a soundtrack for a pen and paper adventure game that my friend,
Right.
and he had a puzzle in the book of his rules that if you solved it, it would eventually lead to this website where you could download these MP3s to play while you did your played your game.
Right.
And then the other thing is a short film that was made by a coworker of mine, and he knew I did music or soundtrack stuff and asked me to do it, and I did it. So they're not fake movies, but they're not.
That seems to be the thing that's in vogue at the moment, is like writing like original music for theoretical films, and I've even had submissions come through via email for that specific thing. So it seems to be, I mean, who knows, within maybe the next 2 or 3 years, there might just be a whole scene devoted to that. And whether that is maybe just a promotional angle for, all right, I like soundtracks, I like electronic music. This could be something that could be marketed as a side genre or whatever. Right. But it's good to know that you've got history writing for real things, and then, but then you've got a slew of EPs up there as well. Tell me about the kind of evolution of the Bendu sound from then to now.
Well, originally when I got into the modular, because I'm a graphic designer, I do motion graphics, so I do long hours a lot. So sitting in front of a computer, making music is not ideal, or it wasn't then. So I was doing things with my hands and just recording it. And the culture at Muff Wiggler was that you would, put things on SoundCloud and share a link. Or, just because there are personalities there who maybe just collect modular and talk about it and don't really do anything with it. So it was just at first. But it's I would just be uploading all the time, and I had a big SoundCloud thing, and most of the stuff on Bandcamp is, once I discovered Bandcamp, I wanted to
you kind of moved it over, kind of thing.
Moved it over, and just as a way of archiving it.
You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast.
So going to the most recent stuff that you've done, before we got involved, you were obviously in the bomb run for Sagittarius, and you released a 7-inch lathe cut for the Crown, and it's backed with a track called Heptagon. So tell us a little bit about the kind of writing process for Sagittarius, because it's so, I don't want to say dense, because dense sounds like a negative thing, but it's so intricate and it's so layered. It doesn't sound like it's just twiddling knobs on a modular, and then hitting export. It seems a lot more considered than that. Right.
So in 2018, I reconnected with an old friend, Destin, who records as Autostatic and over modular stuff. And we would get together and record these really noisy stuff. And it sort of like scratched my itch for that. And then or the project that we're doing together is called Semiotic Ghosts. It's
right.
kind of a back burner thing that we're both doing together. And doing that, and then through Destin, I met Wayne Ulmer.
Yes.
Who is Ben Vance, and I hadn't heard of him. And
Wayne's stuff is amazing.
So good.
It's so good.
And then I just I had been prior. Well, I'm telling the story a little bit out of order, but I had gotten involved with the Modular on the Spot people, and went to Moogfest one year and played at Modular on the Spot there, and saw Pie Corner Audio. This was in 2017 or 2018, and that guy blows my mind. I think he's fantastic. And then I met Wayne, and it was like, I really like this music. I think I could do it. I think I could take my modular stuff and like make a song with a beat. I just want to give it a shot. So that's what I did. And there was a call for entries on Twoism, which is the Boards of Canada.
Yes, God, that's been going for decades. That was kind of my first introduction into that whole lo-fi electronica stuff. God, I was in music college when I discovered Twoism, and yeah, thriving community, and I think it's still running to one degree or another.
Yeah, I kind of check back there every once in a while. So I put together a track for the latest Twoism, and it's Heptagon. That thing never materialized, and I wrote them a letter before I decided to do it. I was like, hey, I know I submitted this track, and I said I would keep it a secret, but I kind of want to put it out, so I'm going to put it out, so sorry. And I hope they're okay with it.
The great thing about the sound is that modular sometimes gets a bad rap for just being completely too abstract. I mean, there are some people that can pull it off and it doesn't sound random. It doesn't sound, completely spontaneous. What I loved about going through the tracks on Sagittarius is it doesn't feel random. It feels extremely considered in terms of its synthesis and its production. How did you manage to marry the world of modular sound with making a controlled, tight, immaculately sequenced set of tracks?
Right. So typically when I'm doing a modular thing, it's like in the moment, I'm just discovering what the music is at the time. And you record everything, and then you hope that there's good bits, and you put them together. For this group of music, I actually started in the computer and just did chords on a piano, and like really got like how the song would sound first. and then I would have the key and the BPM and just send the clock to the modular and record all kinds of shit. and then just
yeah,
the good bits. And a lot of times it was just the MIDI part, like strip out one phrase from the chords and send it to the modular and record that. And, it's just building it up and then taking all the parts out. But that's how it worked.
That's one of the things that I'm really excited for people that are going to be, new to Bendu, and hopefully if they start previewing the tracks and stuff, you can start previewing the tracks already. There's 4 of them that are available. The one that's always jumped out to me is Ether, and Kate Bosworth played it on her Dark Train show last week. Yeah. There seems to be kind of 3 important elements to your music. There's probably more, but the 3 that jump out to me is obviously the kind of modular side, really textured stuff. You'd also love a beat maker as well. That's patently obvious, especially with tracks like Perception is a Needle. There's just this lovely propulsion to it, but weathered. I don't like clean sounds either, so I think we're kind of kindred spirits there. But then the third element is the samples that you use. There always seems to be a kind of a story mode going on, and this is what I'm saying about how considered the production is, because you're able to layer all this fairly kind of nuanced, complex electronic music, but then there'll be spoken word flying in and out, and it might be an intro or an outro or all the way through it. Where does the influence come to use that third element? Because not a lot of people are doing that.
Well, I always loved stuff that had the spoken word, like the movie bit in it. I've loved that forever. Like Big Audio Dynamite. Right. When I was a kid. Meat Manifesto has all kinds of old sci-fi stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's just, I like that, and it's fun, and it allows, it takes something that's like, could be abstract and not mean a whole lot, and you just put not random, but things that might fit together that are from different things, and it, part A and part B makes,
and it almost gives your tracks a narrative that didn't probably have one before you put those things in. So
right,
that's what I mean, because a large percentage of the tracks on Sagittarius have that element to it, and whether it's just a kind of glide down and it's like time stretch stuff, or little bits at the beginning and then interjected all the way through it definitely gives it a kind of extra kind of element to the overall kind of listening experience.
Right.
You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast, featuring Bendu.
Now, in terms of, this is the production stuff is where I really kind of get interested in. And you talk about going, arrangement first and then trying to potentially do modular stuff to fit in with that, which is the complete opposite of how Dawn of War works. Ali will send me some stems and I will build a track around that stem, and then whatever it ends up being. So tell me a little bit about the kind of the software that you use, some of the hardware that you couldn't make your music without. What are you relying on to make your stuff?
Well, I'm talking to you on this iMac that I run Ableton Live on.
So you're an Ableton guy, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I've been for a long time. I'm really comfortable with it. It's like a second
nature.
Second nature. That's what I was trying to say. And then I have an Apollo interface.
Yeah.
You want to get into
Oh no, we're not. I don't think anyone cares about the murky world of audio interfaces. Yeah. But I know there'll be a lot of people that will be interested in whether it is the plugins for sound generation or some of the hardware stuff that you use.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm interested in, and but hopefully by association what a lot of other people will be associated with. So give us like a kind of overview of some of the synths and modular modules that you kind of go to first.
Well, I love make noise stuff, make noise modular stuff.
You're not alone. Ali loves it too.
That's the stuff I really connect with. I've had, I haven't bought hardly anything in the last couple of years, because I just got happy with they were. I have a couple of different make noise cases, and then some more random stuff in a larger thing. What was your question again? So
what do you reach? What do you reach to first? Yeah.
The STO is a great oscillator. The DPO is beautiful. I have a QMMG, which is a great dirty filter. So those are the ones that are closest to my heart as far as modules go. I have a machine drum, an electron machine drum,
right?
To use, but it's not the only thing I use for drums. All of Ableton's toys I use all the time for beat making.
Yeah.
I have an Alpha Juno 1 from when
Wow. Is that the one that's got the Hoover sound on it? The preset?
Yeah.
Oh God Almighty! That's going back to my rave roots. That.
So, the polysynths on Sagittarius are either that or Arturia plugins. So
right.
Arturia, I love the 2600 on that, and the CS80. Right.
So in terms of an average project, the Sagittarius stuff, I'll close my eyes and picture it and just see a huge 70 stem project for every single one of them. Am I overcomplicating it, or is it
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe I've had like a dozen, stems.
Doesn't sound like it. Wow. So are you definitely part of kind of less is more just for your own sanity's sake, or is it an attention span thing? Because sometimes it's an attention span thing for me.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've always really admired people who could really do minimal stuff.
Me too. I find it really hard.
Yeah, it is. And maybe it's a little insecurity where it's I just pile stuff in there.
Throw the kitchen sink at it, yeah.
And then when it comes to mixing, it's all, then things have to go then I try and lighten it up. But yeah, I never get 60 layers deep.
You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast, featuring Bendu.
It feels like, you've really taken time to place things in the right order. And I think that's what people will get away with. Or are you just clicking blindly and go, yeah, I'll do that?
The 70 comes at the on the one of the 70th measure.
Oh wow. I'm not there with a counter. I'm not loading it into Logic and sticking the metronome on and all that kind of thing. And I hope no one else is doing that either. That's over. But those are the little things that's what I'm saying. It separates good music from great music, that you're putting what I would consider to be professional level effort. It's not just a case of running a sequencer, being lazy with a minor ninth arp and sticking an 808 over it. Which is sometimes what yours truly is guilty of. It definitely seems like, and I know it wasn't made overnight. There was quite a large period of gestation, kind of for the project. When did you know that it was? Yeah, I'm done here. I could tie the ribbon on this.
Well, yeah. How did I know I was done? I kind of, when I started after Heptagon, and I had done one other track kind of with a beat and arranging it, doing this different way of working from just recording the modular and then editing bits of improv. So once I got into that, I was like, I'm gonna beat these to death. So I actually went and started like 32 projects all at once. Just like randomly chose like some BPM and like a key, and then did a chord progression and improvised melodies, and some of them were horrible. And then but then others I would be like, oh, this is something, and I would work on it until I got bored or at an impasse, and then I would move on. So I don't know, a lot of it, I wanted to have an album with 9 tracks. That was my goal.
Right.
And then I think when I couldn't bear to part with, like it's like 18?
There's 16 on Intuition.
18?
Yeah.
So like,
but some of the tracks are like kind of, they almost feel like, bridging tracks, like they may be 2.5 minutes long kind of thing. So, so it's not as if it's going to be an endurance test for a listener, because, I'm quite conscious of that. I mean, I've written several 9.5 minute things with 5-minute intros, just because you can, but you can't have 15 of them
right
on an album. And I think you've arrived at, I think the sweet spot for a lot of electronic music is, it'll obviously vary, but it's like between 4 and 6 minutes, because you don't want to have the listener's ear drift off. And I think that's why people will really love Sagittarius, because it's such an interesting listen. There's no 2 tracks alike. Now, you could glean certain influences from your music. Who do you feel influences your output the most in terms of already established artists?
Well, I am a huge Boards of Canada fan. I don't know if you've been. I feel like.
But you'd never know it listening to this. There's a lot of I'm so glad you said BOC, because Boards of Canada is no longer a band. It's a genre.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love Boards of Canada. Do you know what I mean? They stay half an hour away from me. And there is a rural sensibility with a lot of their stuff that I can grow attached to, but that doesn't always seep into the music that I make with whatever project I'm doing. And I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, well, it's obvious that Ben's a Boards of Canada fan, because it's all kind of lo-fi, aged, tape-weathered kind of stuff. But it has to move beyond just purely BOC. I mean, I'm dying to know your musical background and how your influences have arrived at a point of making this album.
Well, I really like stuff that is noisy and melodic. So the Jesus and Mary chain.
God, yeah.
My Bloody Valentine.
Oh, stop it. Oh my God, right there.
Sonic Youth.
Loveless is like one of the best things ever made.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, oh God, it's so good. So yeah, so in terms, I mean, it noisy shoegaze and instrumental electronica almost are, you know, symbiotic, right?
Yeah, and I also have a thing for older electronic music like Warren Subotnick,
Yes.
Daphne Oram, this kind of, you know, 50s kind of tape music.
Yeah. Turning big knobs on big ugly machines. Yeah.
And yeah, who else? I love Pie Corner Audio. All the Ghost Box stuff. I love that label. I think I mentioned Big Audio Dynamite earlier.
Yeah.
Kraftwerk, of course.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah.
No one from the last 30 years, essentially, you know.
Well,
Or have you got any kind of your hyper modern artists that are kind of in the here and now that are really kind of grabbing your ear?
yeah, I like Lizzo.
Right.
Love Lizzo.
People don't realize the production aesthetic that modern pop actually has. I mean, I bought Harry Styles' album for my wife's Christmas. And the first thing I'm doing is looking at the production credits. You know, I mean, it's like a movie buff looking for, you know, all of the stuff, you know, that goes into making movies. And then you realize, oh God, of course it was made in Peter Gabriel Real World Studio. I mean, listen to it. You know, so even modern pop, especially the non-throwaway stuff, there's absolute merit in finding out who does this kind of stuff. What I also want to ask is who in our kind of indie electronica community, if I dare to give it a label, who are the artists that are in our kind of universe that you really admire and like, you know, listening to maybe over the past kind of 12 months?
Panamint Mance, I really admire. Polypores.
Yeah. Steven's so prolific it makes you sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he counted 8 LPs in 2020 alone.
Yeah, that's a little.
And yet it's all fresh. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'll never be able to, nor do I want to, you know.
Well, yeah.
Survey Channel, I think, is brilliant. Good stuff there. Spectre.
Yeah.
Forest Robots. All those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I found out about a lot of these guys purely from all the Strange Selector submissions. I mean, that opened up.
Yep.
That was the Trojan horse for me. Because, you know, myself and Ali, we were only like kind of 3 months into, you know, I was considering another doomed project with Don Aveur, and then this happened. And then I was introduced to the world of Rupert Lally and Elizabeth Joan Kelly and Faye Optim and Central Office of Information and Kieran Mann, and that's my world. It's crazy. And, you know, imagine being in such a privileged position for, you know, people that are even part of the Strange Selectors project from a DJ's point of view, of having that music make up the bulk of their show. I mean, it pried my eyes open into a world that I didn't even know existed. And, you know, some of the guys you've mentioned, I've been lucky enough that, you know, a lot of who you were mentioning there appeared on Strange Selectors, and I'll be able to forged good relationships with. What was your kind of favourite album? If you had to pick one from 2020 from our community, if I pushed you for an answer, what was your kind of standout release?
The collaboration. There's a collaboration between Ben Vance and I'm having a brain fire right now.
Oh, I think I know the one you're on. Is that the one with the black and red cover?
Yeah, Parasite. Is what it's called, and it's just, I love that album. It's fantastic. And it's on Castles in Space, and it's just lovely. Why can't I? I'm having
scanning through your iTunes now. Look,
I am. Think I'm not? I'm totally doing that. Well, it's the Heartwood Institute, and
that's it. That's exactly. And you know what? I was looking at that yesterday because again, I was just doing some major Twitter creeping because I like to kind of know. I mean, I'm never going to know as much as people that have been maybe in the scene for, you know, like a dozen years or whatever, or at least the last kind of 3 years, especially, you know, people like, you know, DJ Bleak and Stephen and Lee Pylon, who have just been, you know, bathing in this stuff for years. What is it that attracts us to non-pristine electronic music like this? What is the secret sauce that kind of makes us kind of lean towards it, do you think?
I think it might be growing up with, you know, I walked around forever with a Walkman. And you listen to a tape 400 times on the school bus, it's gonna sound, you know, shitty, but, you know, like,
yeah.
But it's also in your brain in this way that's like a little rubbed down, a little blurry, and it's fine. It's I don't know, I just love it.
You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast.
No, Captain, some of us, no matter how hard we practice, never get very good at those hard-to-do things.
You have a history in graphic design.
Yes.
That much is patently obvious with, you know, your logos and your use of kind of colour and contrast. Tell us a little bit about working with someone like Eric Peschel.
Well, Eric Peschel is a coworker of mine, and I've always admired his work and work ethic. And for the releases that I've done where they're physical releases, I've always decided to, instead of doing my own graphic design, to like kind of try and find some other artist to work with, so that it is a little, it's unexpected to me.
Sure.
Right? So a friend of mine who's a painter at Parasol B did my Light Leak EP painting, and it's, you know, similar to other paintings she's done. And then another woman that I worked with, Chelsea Hanise, is you know, we work together doing graphic design for movie advertising, but she does these great watercolor paintings on her Instagram. And I was like, here, listen to this and see what you can put together. And, you know, we went back and forth, and then, you know, that's the Silent Mind.
God, it reminds me of like some of Taiko's early sleeves.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a thing where it's so beautiful and it's so delicate. The stuff with Eric, when I showed the artwork to Kate, who does a lot of the design and manufacturing for the label, that was where we dawned on the realization that inner cover for the inside deserves more than just to be an inner cover, because it's like a Constellation influenced Sgt. Pepper, but in landscape. And because it's been designed and executed in such a modern, professional way, even when you blow it up, the resolution's incredible. And as soon as I saw that artwork on the inside, I mean, the front cover's amazing, you know, with the astronaut, and my daughter immediately zoomed on the cat.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, and it's obviously her star sign as well. So that was like, oh right, cool. So you're buying a deluxe copy then, Zoe. So she's down for one.
Oh, good.
But that inside cover, I was just like, we've got to make something of that. It's too good. And I know that the overarching goal for you would be the gatefold.
Yeah.
On a vinyl release. And I know that was
that's how I
perfect world material.
That's how I got Eric interested in doing it. I was like, I want an album cover done. He's like, nah, because he's kind of a grumpy, stoic guy, but I love working with him, and I'm like, well, I'm thinking about doing a vinyl, so you'd have to design it 12 inches by 12 inches, and he's like, okay, I'll do it. I'm like,
yeah,
cool. So then we had like a month of conversations, and like I showed him some stuff, and we dug through the to try and get images that are public domain. And,
of course.
He cut out a bunch of stuff, and there were a lot of iterations. It was
it's a marvel. It's an absolute marvel to look at. And for anybody who's listening that doesn't know, if you go to the Sagittarius release page, there's two options for people. So there's a digipack CD, and you'll be able to see the kind of the incredibly intricate design that Eric's done, and it does hark back to the kind of Peter Blake kind of cut and paste. It's just absolutely on another level. So the idea for making an art print was so obvious.
Yeah.
Because the original file size was so high in resolution, even when you scale it up to A2. And the guys in the print room when it was coming, and I've got like pictures of the prints coming off the printer roller.
Really?
So I'll get sent like little videos of stuff, things getting laser cut, like stickers or postcards or record sleeves and that, and you're like, oh God, look at that. But I'm just seeing these art prints roll off the production line, and I was like, Kate, how do they look and feel? And all she replied was the vomit emoji.
You're listening to the Werra Foxma Records podcast.
This is the VCX presentation.
That is pretty much, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for giving up your evening, to chat to us.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So if you haven't already grabbed the concept, Sagittarius, the new album from Bendu, out on the 15th of January. We've got good, better and best in terms of the releases, so you can have download only with all the tracks that are separate. Digipack CD, and some of the tracks are mixed, so it flows like sides of a record, which I think was the original way that it's intended to be listened to. And then on top of that, you've got the deluxe bundle with the aforementioned A2 art print with artwork featuring Eric Peschel, and then there's also a set of exclusive postcards and stickers that'll go along with it as well. So we will start shipping those, hopefully, barring a postal disaster, on or around the 15th of January. Thank you to everybody who's pre-ordered, and thank you very much, Ben, and take care.
I will. And I just want to thank you. I sent Sagittarius to you for mastering because Stephen suggested you, and I had no idea that it would lead to a relationship with your label. It's so validating to have someone talk so nicely about my music. I really appreciate it. Thank you.